Welcome to the Be a Smart Woman podcast. Everyone has their own story to tell, and you never know what impact your story might have on someone else's life. This is the foundation of the Be a Smart Woman movement. Our movement seeks to empower women through the sharing of their journeys with other women. Sometimes we don't even realize the lessons that our stories hold until we share them with others. I am Faithfull, founder of Be a Smart Woman. And it is my hope and dream that this podcast will illuminate personal lessons for you, the way listening to other women's stories has inspired me for years. We are so glad you are here. Let's enjoy this journey together. We have a great show in store for you today. We will be talking to the wonderful Adora Winquist about alchemy and your soul's work is your soul's work. Adora is a transformative healer, an inspired teacher, and nationally recognized award-winning essential oil formulator. Her up-and-coming book will focus on healing the whole body, one system at a time. She is the founder of Adora Therapy, Mood Boost, and co-founder of Zenergy Medicinal. Thank you so much, Adora, for coming on the show today. We're so excited. We discussed a little earlier what you might want to talk about, and Adora is going to talk to us about alchemy and your soul work is your soul work. Wow, that is a very interesting topic. Can you explain more to us about that and what that means?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on today, Claire. It is a true honor to be here with you and being able to share and communicate and transmit with your platform of beautiful women that we're connecting with around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. It's all us women coming together.
Yeah, I love
making a
that.
difference.
I love that. For me, my work really focuses around the divine feminine and being able to support a woman's transformational process and ultimately elevation and excavation into her highest potential. And certainly not to be exclusive to the male tribe, but I believe as women, we are the creatrix, right? The creators of all. And we give birth to men, we raise men, and we have the ability to do that as well as be in right relationship with ourselves as women and supporting other women, because the new paradigm of relationship is really where we come together in community and unity and have awareness that as we elevate ourselves, we elevate each other. And it really takes our collective efforts right now, in particular, on the planet to awaken and heal and grow and nurture. And thanks for your question on alchemy. I get this question often, right? Because a lot of people think alchemy, well, traditionally that means the transmutation of metals, right? Turning a base metal into gold. But from my perspective, true alchemy is actually the journey of the seeker, the spiritual seeker, or the quest of the hero or the heroine's journey. And really, it's about us being able to take the opportunity to be still, to truly know thyself, right? And in knowing ourselves and becoming introspective about where we are right now, and of course, our childhood mapping, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. But looking at the places where we have pain, where we have struggle, where we have patterns of limitation that hamper our life force, our health, right? Being able to look at the places of our physical health, our emotional health, and psychic health, to be able to see where do I need to apply the practices or tools or hacks, if you will, of self-love and transformation to actually become the alchemy, right? Because
Wow.
when we're becoming the alchemy, we're actually not only excavating our own golden essence or divine nature, but we're paving the path for our life purpose to actualize. And, where we are right now in terms of planetary consciousness, collective consciousness, we are all being called to awaken, to elevate, and to really not just have an awareness of why we're here, but to ground it and actualize it into reality, right? Because that changes the whole tapestry and terrain of the world, and where we can come to new levels of empowerment, not as women, but as the human race, right?
Wow, and that I love because some people have said to me about when women are doing work with women and we're empowering each other, they say, "What about the men?"
Mm,
And what I love is that it's not just about women. This isn't it's about all of us coming together.
yes,
And how do we do that? And I love what you said a little earlier, which was that women give birth to men.
we
We are the
do.
nurturers. So, and maybe that's our role, is that we're also here to nurture the men in our lives
I believe
without giving
that.
our power away as a woman. And I'm interested to know how that all works.
Well, it's such a dance, I
Mm.
think, because we are all at different places on our own spiral of healing. I like to look at it as a shell, right? That the spiral of the Fibonacci sequence, and that the journey to wholeness, the journey of healing, is the journey inward on the healing spiral. And because we're all at different places, when we come into relationship with another individual, if it's a woman, right?
Right.
We are required, we have the opportunity to be in relationship and have a greater awareness of the meaning of that relationship. For example, if you look at any close relationship that you have with a woman in your life,
Mm.
maybe your mom, maybe your child, maybe someone in business, there are patterns and transference that are represented that hold roots in our childhood mapping. And so if we can just talk about that for a moment, because I think it's a really important key to set up a level of awareness about sometimes what's going on in the undercurrent of our relationships. And then we can come back to talking about being in
Absolutely. Let's do that.
relationship
Let's do that.
with
Because,
the male perspective
okay.
or
No, no, but
species.
I think, no, I mean, for me, when you said about, um, women and we meet a woman and what does that bring up in us, I mean, I definitely have experience where there's some women I meet and I feel this sense of love and connection and safe, and then there's other women that I meet that I feel scared or nervous of or uncomfortable with in
Yes.
myself. And I've honestly always wondered, why do I feel that? Because I love women, I have lots of women in my life, and there's definitely, I guess we can go through, like things like the mother, or
Hmm.
like for me, I have a daughter, um, where I get triggered by
Yes.
either one of them, and I'm looking, going,
What's
what
going on?
is going on here? What is this, me? Yes, it's me. What do I have to learn here? And it's like,
Yeah, I love the way that you put it too, being triggered. I have this philosophy that our childhood family constellations or dynamics really provide us with a treasure map. But the treasure isn't outside of us,
right.
it's within us. And so when we start to look at the patterning from both ourselves and then our mother, right, and our father, and of course, what they hold, which is everything that's held in the DNA and the family line on both sides, both female, mother, masculine, male, it provides us with such a rich mapping to see exactly the places that we've come into this lifetime to heal and transform. And even if you believe in past life philosophy, it's still applicable in terms of the childhood map, because everything that is unresolved from previous lifetimes is still held as a seed, right, in this particular life. So we can see it so clearly,
Right.
right? And once we see it, we're able to look at the places within and say, okay, these are the areas with the relationship with, say, my father, where I know I still hold imbalance or pain or uncertainty or a lack of clarity, a lack of light within me that are still creating relationships that I have with men today.
Oh my God.
And so when we start to look at it from that perspective, it allows us to step back and become an observer and say, okay, so this pattern keeps showing up for me. What are some of the beliefs and locked emotion that's held within the subconscious that's continuing to perpetuate these patterns, this pain, or this dis-ease, right? A lack of ease in life. And once we're able to go in and do the clearing work and feel the feeling, which is an imperative when we have those places of locked energy or trauma that are held within our being, we have to go in to actually feel them to unlock the energy and unlock the life force that's there. And once we're able to do that, we can assimilate the wisdom and have that understanding and those trigger points that, like you just spoke of, right, start to diminish and then realize, wow, this is the same person or maybe a different person with a similar area, and I'm not getting triggered here. And that's part of the soul work.
So the trigger is so in other words, when we're feeling, I mean, I'm presuming it's any emotion in a way. So is it the triggers, or could it be that you feel love towards a person, or that you feel happy when you're with a person? I mean, I'm presuming that's a good aspect, right? Like,
Definitely.
I'm like doing good here, but
right. And that's a benevolent type of transference.
But it's the person that comes along and all of a sudden you're annoyed or angry with them, or you want to fix them or change them or let them have it and try to change them. It's like, oh yeah, okay.
All of that, because really what we're being called to is to bring change within. That's the only place where we have the opportunity to mold. We are the clay.
Right.
And we are the change that we've been waiting for in this world. Right? But to fully embody that, we have to be that and mold our own clay.
So I would ask, as a layperson here, if I say I'm reacting to, say, something my daughter says, just for example, and I get triggered, like I'm like, why did you say that to me, or why do you do that to me, or whatever, that's where I have to go, okay, this isn't about her.
Right.
This is about something in me that I need to look at, what maybe has happened to me in my childhood that I'm not seeing.
Yes. And so oftentimes we can't see it.
Yeah, so how do we see that? Oh my God, this is like really exciting.
Well, two things. When I was in school, back at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, Barbara used to talk about the emotional reaction, right? And that's exactly what you're speaking of. Yeah. We have an experience that hits on a place of wounding and trauma within us, and we want to react emotionally in a way that isn't really proportionate necessarily with what the reality of the circumstance is. And so I like to call that following a thread, right? And so it requires us to have that time to be introspective. I like to journal around this. I like to go in and use the feeling, okay, I'm going to step back from the situation before I even respond, in this case, right, to your daughter. And I really want to follow the full line of this thread. So I'm going to look at this emotion and see where it has roots in my past. And is it a pattern that continues to perpetuate? How far can I follow it down the line? Do I see roots of this in my childhood? Did I have this experience where I felt this emotion as a child in response to something that was going on in my environment, perhaps between both of my parents, or in dynamic with my mother, or in dynamic with my father? And then, of course, oftentimes we, like all of us, go so far on the journey of awareness because it is subconscious. And then we connect with people like myself that become guides or allies, right? In the personal process journey of where we have a guide to support us to really feel in and look at some of those more deeply painful places from our childhood that we can't necessarily see on our own.
I know, because I think I've spent many, many years looking at myself, working on myself, going to workshops, growing and learning about who I am and what my triggers are. But I know that there are still some areas in my life where I feel, why does this still bother me? Why do I still, it's like I can be all happy and going along in life and wonderful, wonderful. And one person says one little thing and it's like the smallest little thing. Yes. And I'll be like, why is this annoying me? Why am I wanting to yell at you or to tell you no or to stop you?
Yes.
And I can see that in my own life where I feel like, oh, I've got this all together. And then, oh, nope, you haven't.
I really believe that this life offers a journey until our very last breath. And that journey is one of awakening and continuing to elevate ourselves, right? Emotionally, elevate our consciousness. Because until you're living the highest and best version of yourself and really taking all of the longings that you have for this life and seeing them actualize and actuate around you, there's still more work to do. It doesn't end. And that's why it's a spiral. And so for each layer that we go in and bring more light and healing and awareness to, unlocking more energy and life force and more of our essence, our divine energy, vibration, right, that is unique only to you. So the more that we clear, the more that comes up to be cleared. And the truth is, for me, I've spent 20 plus years in personal process work and also as a facilitator. And even now, over 20 years later, my commitment to continuing my own personal process and really continuing to transform the places and patterns that are within me that still create things that don't feel in alignment with the highest truth of who I am, that's still a commitment for me. And not just as a facilitator or healer, but a core commitment to being a human on this journey of consciousness, right? And awakening and expressing more of what's possible from our human potential.
So from what I'm hearing you say, it's like, because while we're in human form, we're here to grow and we're here to learn and we're here to become aware. So, and we're in a spiral.
Yes.
So basically that means that we're always in a process of evolution.
Yes, precisely.
So it's not like one day we wake up and we go, hey, I got this down pat now. I am good to go. I am an evolved human being.
Right, I'm done. I'm going to check that box.
I can check the box. You mean we don't get to check the box?
We don't get to check the box. And I love checking boxes. And
me too.
I am a consummate planner and all about the destination. And every time I get too focused on that or too attached to it, something within me creates an experience, which is an opportunity to say, you know what, it's really about the journey. And the journey is consistent transformation, transmutation, transfiguration. And that is the alchemy, right? And that's why
I love it.
Our soul work really is our soul work. Because when we are out there existing from a place of ego, or child consciousness, letting our child consciousness make decisions, we know where that ends up. We're in that mouse wheel of pain and suffering.
Right.
And, where I mentioned before about looking at our family constellation and dynamics between our mother and our father, this universe is created from a construct of the triad, the trinity, the triangle. Think of the Great Pyramid, right? Think of Maiden, Mother, Crone, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, body, mind, spirit. All of these trinities of our existence. But if we take a look at the bigger picture of that, my perspective is that those 3 points represent our relationship with the feminine, our own mother, and everything that's held within the family line, the lineage.
Generations of women.
And really, represents our relationship to God in the feminine form, just like our male aspect, right? And being able to bring healing and light to the male aspect, not only within our being, but everything that's represented from our family constellation, from
Right.
our father, and through that line, and of course, our relationship with God in the masculine form. And then the third point is our child consciousness, right? All of those places and patterns of pain that are still held within, perpetuating negative cycles or cycles of dysfunction. But the beauty is when we are that seeker that's really on the spiritual path of committing to the personal process work and bringing healing and light to all three of those aspects, once we reach a critical mass or a tipping point with that, we're able to not only recognize our life purpose,
Right.
but actualize it, to be able to ground it and create
Wow.
life, bring life to it, and where it becomes our life breath.
And is that so? Is that something would be like maybe for me where I've gone on this journey of life and I've tried all different careers and none of them really stuck to me. And now one day someone walks into my house and starts talking about podcasts, and I'm like, what's a podcast? And then I think, oh, I'll do a podcast. And something felt right.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I'm learning about how to record podcasts and how confusing it is. But there's something inside of me that says this is the path I'm meant to be going on. So I'm following it. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly,
Okay.
Claire, you couldn't have articulated it more beautifully,
Okay.
because when we are truly following our soul purpose, we move into a place of ease, grace, of effortless flow. You know, one of the things that from my background in healing school is we did a lot of work with the Hara line. It's a dimension
Right.
that holds our life purpose. And when we can be in that place, which means we're not in a place of being willful, trying to push. And I'm a super willful person, and it has been a life journey of learning how to have faith and surrender. So when we're not in that place of will, but we're also not in that place of being passive, right?
Right.
Just expecting, oh, everything's going to happen. And I think this is one of the misnomers about the spiritual journey, of just being able to sit back and, oh, everything will be brought to me. No, we have human form. We must take action. And when we can come into the place within the center of our being, that Hara line, that Hara dimension, we can move into a place of effortless creation, right? Of being in that place of flow that you're talking about.
It's like magic.
It's like magic.
I mean, I have to say that I mean, maybe I've experienced that in moments in my life with that flow. But I really can say that the creating this podcast is something that I feel guided so strongly to do, and I feel supported even when I'm hitting the struggles of like, I can't download this podcast to my sound engineer. Oh, but for some reason there's always a divine perfect answer for that, and then it all works out.
I love that. And I think that too, having the power of belief that everything always does work out.
It does, doesn't it?
Is a way that we can communicate back to spirit, or that surrender to the divine, and say, you know what, I know that you're here. I know that I'm supported, and I'm going to open myself to fully receive that. Because, you know, the whole idea of receiving, whether we're receiving support or love or abundance, right? Financial abundance or health, we have to be open to allow that into our lives. And the places where either we were told we didn't deserve when we were younger, or we saw it happen in our environment, right? Perception is 9/10 of reality. And we saw where maybe our parents really struggled. And then, oh, well, you know, the only way in life to be successful is to struggle and to work hard and to, you know, work my fingers to the bone. Working hard was a huge belief carried through my family line, particularly on the male side. And, you know, I've really had to be deliberate about deprogramming myself for that, and still do. because it's such a pattern for me.
So for you, one of your patterns is that you have
Work
to work
hard.
really hard, and then
Great workaholic. I can work all the time, anytime.
It's funny as you're saying that. I have this picture of my father lying in his hammock, because my visual of my dad, the male energy, was that yes, he did work and he did provide abundance, but he did his work like in the middle of the night. And then when I saw him like in the morning, he would be lying in his hammock in the garden like asleep.
Wow.
So I can see it took me a long time to develop a better work ethic, because that was, I mean, really something that I saw, that life was about chilling and not stressing.
So these are two great polarities, right, of belief system that are passed down through generation. And you can see even in this moment, as we're both sharing from this place of vulnerability, how they can imprint and then become part of our day-to-day living until we step back and really take the conscious intention and choice to shift.
That's amazing. I mean, and I think that, I was thinking how I always would like to work. I like to work and be, what's the word? If I'm asked to do something, I'll work really hard and I'll get it done. And I'll do a great job. But then if there's sort of nothing going on, I see that that's where the self-motivation, and that's what I had to learn. That was one of my, to be able to motivate and say, today, this is what I'm going to work on, because this is important.
Yeah.
So I can take those steps forward. Otherwise, you just coast, and then life brings you distractions, because there's always things that
there's so many shiny baubles in life.
I know.
It's true. It's so true. For me, my father was a Marine, and very conservative, very disciplined. And so he was very disciplinarian, very hard with me. Now, that was challenging when I was young, but as I got older, I learned how to push myself in ways that are contrary to most people, right?
Right.
Through that pattern. But to take it a step further is to have the awareness where it's healthy to push myself, or if I'm pushing too hard. Because when we push too hard, we always pay the price. Right. Whether
so it's finding a balance.
It
sounds like what we're talking about is I grew up with one sort of in one way, and you grew up in another way, and it's all about finding balance, like where you can take care of yourself and where you can grow inside and also work hard.
Exactly.
Or maybe not hard, but it's not about hard work, it's about following your passion.
Exactly. I love that. Being on purpose with passion, I think, is a really powerful combination. And finding balance is that sweet spot that's the kind of golden carrot of this quest, right? Where do I find balance within to really be able to optimize who I am, to really live at that place of my highest potential, which is going to be very different from yours or anyone else's, and really honoring that journey of my own as well as honoring yours.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Adora, for coming on our show today. That was I love all the things that you shared. It's given me a sense of hope.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It's been such an honor.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll come back on the show again.
I would love to. Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Adora Winquist, for coming on the Be a Smart Woman show today and sharing your insights and expertise in the area of alchemy, and your soul's work is your soul's work. We are incredibly grateful to you. You can find out more about Adora on her website, www.adorawinquist.com, or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Adora Winquist. That wraps up our Be a Smart Woman podcast for today. I hope that you discovered something about yourself during today's podcast, as I truly believe we can learn something from everyone we meet. If you like what you heard today, I invite you to subscribe and leave a review. We'd love to have you in our Be a Smart Woman family. You can also follow and like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you've got questions or think you have a story to share, you can find our contact information at beasmartwoman.com. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.